Welcome, buddy. It's been a
Thanks,
long
man.
time coming.
Yeah,
Mr. Alex the Jeweler.
appreciate it.
Of course. You flaked on me a couple times, so I'm going to talk a little shit in the beginning.
Golf tournament.
There you go. It's all good.
Came in like 8th too, so it's not good.
No, that sucks.
Yeah.
Are you good at golf?
No,
You're terrible?
No.
Like, what's your handicap?
I shoot like high 80s, low 90s,
Oh, okay. I'm like 100. So
Oh, okay.
better than me for sure.
like Blaine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know how bad Blaine is, but I think he's pretty bad.
he's.
I think it's just like shots of tequila and beer.
Yeah,
chugging.
that's why I go golfing is to have fun. But
Yeah. And then I quit at like hole 11 and then just start drinking heavily afterwards.
yeah,
Yeah.
pretty
Because I
much the
give up.
same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, thanks for coming on. Talk to me about
Yeah.
how you got into the watch business, jewelry business. I feel like that's like a path that,
Yes,
You don't
few-
really,
few
like-
take.
yeah, you don't like. I don't think I.
It's all
dreamed
kind of, it
about
kind of found me, I guess. I was went to college and I got like a part-time job at a pawn shop while I was going to school, and it was guns and tools and a little bit of jewelry.
it. Right.
Then moved on to another one that was mostly jewelry and kind of found out that's what I like to do. And then, came downtown, talked to some people. No one wanted to hire like someone from like the outside. It's all like they keep it super, super tight. And then actually got hired from a guy that was pretty much like, have you seen the movie Uncut Gems?
I don't think so. No.
Yeah, it's like an Adam Sandler movie about like a crazy jeweler in like
Right.
New York. And he hired me. And then after that was, yeah.
Is that the same guy that you're working with now?
No, he went to jail. He was, yeah, no, he was like a criminal. He was like exactly like the movie. If you see the movie, it's exactly the same. Like a crazy gambler, had a mistress with like, and just like spent more money than he made. So
Was he all blinged out all the time too?
not really. It wasn't too flashy that way, but it's like just degenerate pretty much. So then a guy that I work with now, his name's Kevin. He ended up purchasing the store and then kept me on, and then I manage it from
Nice.
there. But watches weren't something I was like super into immediately, and then kind of like
You forced
Gain-
to like grow into it.
yeah, you're just around it so much that you get an appreciation for them, and then you make your first purchase, and then that's where it goes downhill from there.
What was your first purchase?
Well, I actually bought a Rolex Submariner at the pawn shop in Montana, and then I wore it for like 3 years and thought it was real. It was fake after I
God.
found out. Once I got educated enough, I was
Yeah.
like, oh man, I've been wearing a fake one this whole time.
Hopefully. you didn't pay
And then
it.
I bought an Explorer 2 white dial. It's called Polar Explorer. It's my first Rolex,
Cool.
and I bought it for like $3,000. Wish I would have held on to it though.
For sure. I feel like every watch,
I mean, keep them all if you can.
yeah,
but
everyone that you talk to is like, I wish that I kept my watch.
first one at least.
Your first one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I keep every time I talk to you about like buying a new one. Like recently I was just telling Whitney, I was like, man, I feel like I should just like trade in this one and then upgrade to the one that we've been talking about.
Is this your first?
No, because I got one gifted.
Okay.
So I had the two-tone Datejust 36.
Yeah.
That was my grandfather, so it was a
Gotcha.
gift. I resized it and gave it to Whitney. And then
It's a good size for it.
yeah, I bought this one 2 years ago. I think 2 years ago, maybe a year ago. I don't remember. 2 years ago, year and a half ago, something like that.
Yeah.
But this was like one that was like top of my list, and so I finally found it. But it was funny because I went to like the Rolex dealer. We were talking about this,
Yeah.
right? Like
Oh, yeah.
multiple times. Like, dude, I went there for like 2 years, put myself on the wait list. I'm like, why are these people not getting back to me? Why don't they want to sell me a freaking watch? Like,
Yeah.
I don't get it. And so finally, obviously, I had to buy it like from the second
secondhand for it?
Yeah, yeah.
Most people did have to now. Just the availability of watches. But that's kind of what kind of breeds the gray market, and the prices the gray market breeds is that, and it kind of sucks for collecting for people that don't even want to try to make money off a watch. They
Right.
just want to go and they want to buy what they like, but they can't go into Rolex, and you like a GMT Pepsi and you
Right.
can't just buy it off the showroom. So
No.
then you got to go onto the secondary market and pay double for it pretty much.
Yeah, it was crazy. I remember the olive dial last year, or was it? It was during COVID, because that was my holy grail Rolex
The Rose Gold President?
Yeah,
Yeah,
the Rose Gold
yeah, yeah.
anniversary.
It
Yeah.
got crazy.
Bro, I think it went up to like 100.
Yeah, it was close. I think it might have like reached 100.
Yeah, and I was considering buying it at that time,
Yeah.
because everything was like so good during that time. And I
Yeah,
was literally
everything
looking
was
at it. I'm
going
like,
up.
God, I'm gonna go look at one because I never even like saw one in person. And then now I'm so glad that I didn't.
It dropped a lot. A lot of watches did. It was a crazy period between pretty much COVID kind of started it off.
For
where
sure.
Things started kind of, I guess, with the housing market. I mean, where you saw influx of interested buyers, which then causes demand, and then all of a sudden people get to start asking whatever they want to, and you're getting overbidded for everything. And then with the watch market, at least, I feel like a lot of it was also driven by the gray market, just dealers, not even people trying to buy it from the gray dealers. It was
Right.
a dealer buying it from another dealer and then buying it from another dealer.
Right.
Knowing that every week you check the price is increasing. So it's okay to overpay for something because in 2-3 weeks, it's going to be more expensive and you have your room to make your money. So it really got out of hand for.
It did, for sure. I was
couple
watching it
years.
and I had to like sit on the sideline. And I think I bought mine right before all of like that stuff kind of happened. Because
Yeah.
I think, I don't remember exactly.
You told me like 2019, I think you got it right.
Yeah, and I think I got mine for like either low 15s or low 16s. I don't remember which side it was, but it's like, dude, like, and we've talked about this off camera. Like, it is such an easy place. Like, you can just throw your money at a watch,
Oh, absolutely.
and you can like it's going to go up and down in value. Obviously, the more you upgrade in terms of like higher end,
Exactly,
and like getting
yeah.
into like the Pateks and like the Audemars and all that stuff, like
That's when you
you're
start losing a lot of money.
or
if the
gaining a
market-
lot of money.
True,
Yeah.
if the market changes, and that's what you see a lot of right now is that people think there's like a watch crash,
Right.
And it's more about the watch market's kind of resetting itself
For sure.
into like the standard appreciation a watch should be. But then when you get people, especially like Richard Mills, what you're talking about, or even like Nautilus is that if there's a certain amount that's available on the gray market, and people that have that much money to spend on one, they're okay to be like, hey, you got outbid by 10 grand, throw
Right.
another 10 on it.
Yeah.
I just want it. And that's what got the watch market to just explode. And then now that it's resetting, you see watches losing, I mean, depending on what scale of watches you're talking about, but
Right.
like Richard Mills losing $300,000-$400,000.
Dude, it's crazy.
Or Pateks losing 20 or 30 grand. But
Some of them are 100 though. The other one, I mean, it's like, this is obviously like a far fetched, but like the 5911,
5711 Nautilus?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Just
I
got
think-
a lot of hype around it.
Dude, that thing was like in the threes, right?
If you went like rose gold, or if you went with one
rose-
that was like a special bezel, like a gym set, something like that stuff got really out of hand. I think I bought a 5711 rose gold during that time, and I think I paid like 110 for it, and I think it went up to 140, 150, but now it's back down to like that 110. So a lot of things resetting.
I love you know me, I love the rose gold stuff. So
Yeah, the only thing with the Nautilus is it doesn't feel as expensive as like you think it would when you would wear it. The bracelet to me is
Yep.
pretty cheap. Obviously, being gold, it's gonna have a lot of weight to it, so it feels nice.
Right.
But especially with Patek too, because Patek is known to be like a high complication, high end watch that has a lot of prestige around it, and that's their sport model, which is pretty basic. I mean, you're talking about a 2-hand
Right.
watch, only tells you the time and the date, and the amount of hype that it had around it. It was really just
because
availability and.
it feels like plastic almost, like when you're like
Yo, the bracelet's crazy thin,
Right,
and
and
the
it
case
sounds
is
like
thin.
weird. Yeah.
yeah. It's like when you would think about $150,000 watch, you hold it and you're like, "This is what
This
I get.
feels a little cheap,
Yeah,
yeah.
but it's just it's the hype. A lot of these watches is just hype.
yeah.
So
I feel like the Audemars, what was the one that you and I were talking about? It was the silver one that's really popular. It was Audemars. It was an
Audemars,
the-
yeah, I
the
mean
eight-
Audemars great. I think those to me, Audemars I would rather purchase an Audemars like Royal Oak versus a Nautilus
that's
to
what I
me,
was gonna say.
just from aesthetics.
Yeah.
And I think they have a better bracelet. I feel like the weight and just the quality of the feel is better. But as far as if you talk about like a Patek movement, you're talking about one person making one movement for
Right.
an entire year.
Totally.
There's so much. It's so much high detail going into those movements. I see where the value's at. But if I had 60 grand to go spend on a watch, I would probably end up going Royal Oak versus Nautilus, in my opinion.
Yeah, so you're talking like movements and stuff, and
Yeah.
like I think for like most people, besides
Yeah,
the people who we go to
It's
when
aesthetics.
we go to the club, that
Oh.
that thing that you took me, which was like a book club for guys that have watches that jerk off to their collection.
Yeah, that's a weird, because if you get such a wide variety of people in those like watch groups where there's guys that just really like their Seiko collections, and
Right.
each one's $700-800, and this
Right.
one's rare because it was only released at this time, and then you guys have guys with Royal Oaks, and
Mm-hmm.
there's so that was a bad event that I took you to. The next one's gonna be good.
Well, invite me to the next one. I remember like dying when Blaine and I like walked up, like everyone's like all in a circle jerk, like looking at these watches.
Yeah,
and
no, I was embarrassed I even invited you. That was and all the ones like that's honestly the worst one that I've been to, and I've been part of it for like 3 years now. And I was like, God damn it! The one time I tell my friends to come over and like check it out, it was like at a brewery, and there was a car meetup.
I
and
know.
the car parking lot was like down the block, so like you can't even see the cars.
So I'm going there in my head. I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna see like some sick cars, and like hopefully I can see like some of the pieces that I've been talking about that I
Yeah.
want to purchase in person. And then I show up, and it's like I'm not dogging this, like people, Omegas and like other stuff, but like to me, I wasn't like I had this like built up in my head where I'm thinking that I'm gonna go see some people with some like nice pieces.
You can at like certain points, but especially I feel like with San Diego in general, I feel like there's for like watch collecting, it's not like you're in Miami. So it's like one person is not trying to flex over the next person.
Right.
So everybody kind of finds their niche of what they like. I have like this one buddy that all he buys is Omegas.
Right.
I think he has every Omega Speedmaster that's ever been made. But that's just what he likes.
Right.
And that's what watch collecting is supposed to be about, is like you buy what you like. But if you're going there to see like models that you want to potentially purchase, which majority of them are, you have like guys that only like vintage. So like every watch is going to be like pre 1990s, 1980s. And then what you want to see is like you almost need to go to like a convention, like when they have in Vegas, they have in Miami, the watch shows where you see the new models, because majority of these people they don't want the super popular overbought items, because they want something unique where they could go to a collecting event and they have the only one.
Totally. I remember that dude was showing Blaine and I don't know if you were there yet, but he was showing Blaine and I that his collector piece, the vintage one, I think was like the most expensive watch there. We looked at it and I was like, that thing's $75,000.
Oh, they get crazy. Even like you talk about like Rolex Paul Newmans from like the 70s, they retailed for like $395,000 or $395. And then now, if they're complete, you're talking about $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $1 million. I think Paul Newman's actual Paul Newman sold for like $5 million. Jesus. But if you look at the watch, you're like,
you would never think that.
It's cool looking, but like, how is this $5 million? It's just, it's all about rarity and demand.
I think the one that we have too, or the one that I gave, the one that I gave Whitney, it's vintage. I think it was like for sure in the 80s. But I was looking online; they're still worth like $6-7 grand.
Oh yeah.
Which is
you said it's two-tone.
The two-tone, two-tone.
36 millimeter Datejust, yeah. Depending on which, they've made those since like the 70s. So then you have like the 1601, so it's non-quick plastic crystal, and you go to 16013s, which is you could change the date without going around 24 times. So
you can change the date just like my watch.
Yeah, so it's called a quick set. So that was like the very first quick set. So that will increase in price, but it still has a plastic crystal.
Right.
Then you move to the 16233, which has a sapphire crystal and the quick set.
Right.
And they'll get those in like $6 or $7 grand. But those were $2,000 watches 6 years ago, 7 years ago.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. So even base models will appreciate over time.
Yeah, that's why I keep telling myself that I want to sell this one and then get. I was telling you that I wanted to get the Sundust, because the goal is to get it this year, and I can't believe the 33 or 34, whatever you're telling me,
which is getting pretty close to retail.
Right.
Yeah. The president, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now I'm like,
kind of close.
I may as well just get the olive dial, because I feel like the Sundust kind of looks just like the yellow, like the classic yellow gold champagne dial.
Yeah, I think it will lose its luster.
I think so too.
After owning it for a while.
Yeah.
It does have that little bit of a different dial, but it's kind of it's every watch deal. You buy a watch, you're super hyped up about the watch. You get it, you own it for like a week, and you're like, I wish I got something different.
But that's why I love this one, because I feel like it has it's different with the green.
Yeah, the Wimbledon dial is.
Yeah. And you have like that different feel.
And it's not every Datejust everybody's wearing. When you see someone else wearing a Datejust, they don't have
they always
dial,
either have
or they don't have it in the rose gold.
Yep.
So that is, in my opinion, that as a two-tone Datejust, that's the best one to go with.
Yeah. What would be your if someone was to try to spend let's say 10 to 15,000?
Yeah.
What do you? I know what I see a lot of people what I would think a lot of people would buy in terms of just a sub, right?
Yeah.
Typical Submariner.
Yeah.
But what would you get?
For me?
Yeah.
I like to dabble more in the vintage, neo vintage, I guess. Not super vintage. Neo vintage is what you would consider 80s and early 90s, even maybe even early 2000s at this point. But I like the aluminum bezels that Rolex had on them before they went to the ceramic. They make a two-tone GMT, kind of like what I'm wearing right now, but in a two-tone version. And it comes with a champagne dial, and it has ruby markers, and they call it the Sultan. That would probably be what I would spend. I think those are right at the 15 grand, but that's not what I would suggest. If someone wanted to buy one, if it's going to be their only watch, it wouldn't be the watch to buy, which would be, to me, a sub. If you get a GMT retail, which you can't, if you could buy any Rolex retail, you go and buy it, because you're going to make money on it. But That subs Explorers. I think Explorers are super underrated. You get those for like the Polar Explorers from like the 90s. You get those for $8,000, and it has the same movement pretty much as any of the newer GMTs. Maybe a little bit less of a power reserve.
My buddy just bought an Explorer 2. He got it. What's that place in Vegas? The Pawn Star place?
like the gold and silver place.
Yeah. So he bought it from there, and he
Yeah.
got his for like $9,800.
Yeah, it's a good price. Depending, they have a couple models now. They have the newer one, which is actually 42 millimeters. But if you find one like early 2000s and before, they were 40 millimeter, which I think is a better size to wear.
Yeah.
And that's what I would go with.
And he's a small dude, so.
Is he? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the 42, especially with like how big the dial is, I own the black dial version, and I just stopped wearing it because it's just too big for me.
Right.
But
42 is pretty big.
I like to dabble even into like the 36 range, but
Yeah.
I like the idea that you're wearing the watch and the watch not wearing you, kind of a deal.
For sure. Yeah.
But you find people that like the 52 millimeters and they're wearing a freaking satellite on their wrist, and that's what they like. But
Were you ever
it's
into
not for me.
Nixon's back in the day?
I wasn't even really even a watch guy until I kind of got into like the
Really?
industry. Yeah.
Blaine, were you into Nixon's back in the day?
I have a few Nixons.
Do you? Do you guys remember what's that big ass Nixon that I feel like everyone in high school used to rock? That like
It was like the 5350 or
Yeah.
something like that.
Gold one.
Yeah.
the gold or steel, but it was like massive. I think that thing was like 46 millimeters.
Yeah,
right?
it might have been bigger. I think it was huge.
I remember
And
buying
they
one.
were so popular.
So popular.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Everybody wanted one.
I have like the tiniest wrist. Like, how the hell am I gonna put this big ass thing? Like, it's like a hockey puck on your wrist.
East County would be the ceramic white one.
Or Temecula.
I actually had a buddy put one on his hand and hit somebody with it. That's how big those things are.
Dude, those things are massive.
Yeah.
I loved the older. They almost look like the Patek a little bit. The original,
They
like,
do now that I think
Yeah.
about it. They had like the cushion case
Yep.
and the integrated band.
Yeah.
That was a Nixon. Yeah, they made that one like white ceramic.
Yep. I had the all black one. I had the silver one. I had a gold one. But then obviously I got rid of all those. But it was funny because I feel like that was my.
You realize you're just wasting money while you're buying them.
Well, no, you're.
It's kind of the same thing with movement. Like a lot of like guys, like especially at our age, you go like out to the bars, you see a massive amount of movement watches. Which I mean, if you want to watch for $100, I mean it's
Cheap and fashionable.
yeah, it's cheap and fashionable. So I mean, it does its thing. It tells you the time, but there's
So is your phone.
yeah. I don't know if my watch.
I actually sometimes don't even know how to tell my time on my watch.
Sometimes I don't even set it.
Or
half the
yeah,
time.
I forget how to set it. But Blaine, what style is yours?
Right now,
Yeah.
aviation.
The style of his is clean.
Actually, I told him that when he bought it. I was
Yeah.
like, if you like them, keep buying them.
Right.
They do like a homage to like a whole bunch of aviation like gauges and stuff. I think it's a cool look. It's almost like do you know Bremont? Bremont's like a watch company out of like England, but their whole bases they're built off just like aviation like inspired gauges. So the whole watch is inspired by aviation, which is the same thing as Aviate, but having to spend $2,000 on a watch, especially with a Bremont, $3,000, that the resale is crap. You buy Aviate and don't really worry about what happens to it. So
300-400 range.
yeah, I told you when you were buying them, I was like, if you like them, that's the whole thing with watch collecting. I mean, you buy what you like.
For sure.
I mean, it's bonus if you get to keep the money that you paid onto it, and it's even
Right.
better if you make some money. But it's with anything, you buy
I mean,
it.
buying luxury watches is on a whole nother level, right? Like where you're not spending just $400
Yeah.
or whatever. But I totally agree with you. It's interesting too. Breitlings, they
Yeah.
look, dude. Those people, I feel like, copy exactly what the subs look like, but they put it on a different bracelet. Like I walked into a Breitling store and they literally look identical to Rolex. Like I don't know if I can tell a difference on someone's wrist.
They used to be really bad, and then I think they got a new CEO or like new chief of like design like 3 or 4 years ago, and now Breitling vintage Breitlings are very very cool. They had like a real long history of like chronographs or pilots and all that kind of stuff, and then it was like I call it like the Jerry Seinfeld era, which were just like really weird watches, like in like the early '90s, I guess, that the style and the movements are crap. And then recently, they've been making some very very cool stuff, but it's the same thing where like Omegas and Cartiers. There's a lot of watch brands that if you're gonna spend that, even $3,000 or $4,000 on a watch is a lot of money to most people.
Right.
And if $8,000 Breitling is selling brand new unworn on the secondary market for $4,500. You just got to be smarter when you're buying those things.
Right. So with those, you don't hold.
You don't go to a boutique and you buy those. You don't go to the Omega boutique unless it's like a very limited run where you know like,
Right.
it's like you can't get it anywhere else. But if it's a catalog watch that's one of their base models, you find one from a reputable gray dealer at brand new unworn condition at half the price, then it's kind of like buying a Rolex at that point because you know that's where like the bottom dollar is.
Right.
You could wear that thing and you could sell it and you might lose $100 or $200 because now it's a used one.
Right.
But you've already lost that initial loss of the watch by not buying it from a boutique.
So with like going to a boutique, would you think like 50%, like right off the top?
I mean, depending on what watch brand, but yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of them are.
That's
Even
crazy.
Omega, which I mean, if you break down like Omega's movements versus the Rolex movements, they're just as high quality. Sometimes,
Right.
I mean, some of them are even better. But you take the Seamaster ceramic bezel, I think those retail for 78, which is maybe 7, but which is pretty comparable to the retail price of a sub. But then you get the Omega Seamaster at $3,500, $3,900, brand new unworn, versus paying $3,000 or $4,000 over Rolex price,
Right.
to get the watch. That I think it's a really good buy for people that don't want to. They still want something nice and reliable that's going to last them forever, but they don't want to go spend $15,000.
I think that's also comes down to how Rolex does their like sales process and everything else. Like we can go
Yeah.
back to that. Like they don't have, there's limited inventory, right? Like when
Yeah, I mean, go
like,
in there and they don't have like their exhibition. They have no
nothing,
movements in them, so you
right?
can try them on. Be like, hey, I'll call
Right.
you in like 3 years.
never.
I have a
right?
buddy that works there, and like I try to get watches. And he's like, nah, you wait. I'm like, all right. So
Is that the same guy that you were gonna try to plug me with?
yeah, but you have a better chance just because I'm in the business, so he knows that like unless I really love it,
Right.
Which I see so many watches now, I feel like it's hard for me to even like fall in love with a watch.
Sure.
But if like he knows that my client is not someone that's into the business of flipping watches,
right.
then you're
Better
better
off.
off getting it. Yeah.
What? So can you talk about that? Like how does like for a normal person without having like the ins with someone on the inside?
Mm-hmm.
Like when I was before I met you, like when I was going to the authorized dealer, I was going to both of them that were local. Put my name in, met the dudes, got their cards, sending them emails every couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Like, hey, just wanted to check in. Do you guys have anything? Obviously, like it went almost a year with no responses, nothing. I remember one time, the first time that I went in, they had 2 watches in stock right before COVID.
Mm-hmm.
They had the white gold President.
Yeah.
That was obviously retail.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had a date just. And both times I walked away and I called Whitney and I was like, fuck, I should probably buy one.
Yeah.
And
You know,
I mean, they,
white gold's tough for them. Or not tough for them to sell, but tough like on the gray market because most of them look just like a date just. It looks
Right.
like a steel date just.
Right.
And so white gold presidents are always harder to sell than yellow gold or rose gold because
didn't want it.
you don't see the precious metal. The one that is a little bit different is the platinum one because it only came on the smooth bezel at the time. Now they actually do have a fluted bezel version, but at least when someone was wearing one, you saw the smooth bezel and the white metal, you knew it was platinum.
Right.
For people that know watches at least, but like I wear cheap watches and I get more compliments on it than I do when I wear my Rolexes too. So to the
True.
majority of people, it doesn't matter.
Right.
But to like the watch guys, it would look like a stainless steel date just from across
sure.
the room until you walk up. You're like, oh, it's a
Yeah.
white gold president. And then unless you really wanted it,
right.
you wait.
No, I didn't want it. But the
Yeah.
point was, is like afterwards,
It almost
like,
makes you feel like you should buy one.
during COVID.
Yeah. Best thing to
And-
do is go buy her like a ladies date just because those
She already has one.
those are like yeah, she has like the vintage 36.
Right.
You go buy her a brand new ladies one
Mm-hmm.
because those are like one of the very few Rolexes. Same with like Cellini's, which they actually just discontinued Cellini's, but there's a few watches that don't actually appreciate when you leave the store, unlike the majority of watches that they have. So if you go in there and you buy one of those, it gives him like the little like, hey, he's not in it to make money because you just lost $5,000. So it gives you a better because there also is no list. When they
Right.
say put your name on a list, there's no list. I've talked to a whole bunch of different ADs. There's no actual list. They pick whoever they want to decide that they deserve the watch, or they're buddies with them, or they know they're not flippers. They get to pick whoever they want to sell that watch to. So you could be on the list for 100 years if you want to, and they just don't feel like calling your name. You just
Or
won't
they
get a
don't
watch.
like you.
Yeah, you go in there and you piss them off, they just won't ever call you.
Damn.
Yeah, especially so if you go in there and you buy a watch and then you flip it, and they find out, then you're like blackballed from like the list.
So how does that work? Because you get like box papers and card.
Yeah.
And when you're buying brand new, obviously my card isn't in my name because mine's like a 20.
The new ones don't even have names on them.
Oh, they don't?
No.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
cool.
but like what I've heard, and I don't know if this is like true or not, the label maker where they put the date at the bottom, every dealer could tell if it's like their font or not. So so now there's like Facebook groups and WhatsApp chats of all
Right.
these dealers selling watches, and if they end up taking a picture of the card and you could tell, and especially if they have a serial number on it, 'cause you just go and search the serial number to see if you sold to your store.
Right.
Which I've heard people getting caught that way, but
Are
I
the
don't know if
dealers
it's true.
are the dealers on those chats?
Not like, I mean, so like a couple of my guys that I know that are dealers, they are on there. They're not buying watches.
Right.
They're almost just looking. But I mean, like I think you're gonna look 24/7 all the time just to see if you have a customer. No.
Do they care that much? Probably not.
I don't think they do, but they won't sell to me.
Yeah.
But I mean, because when they sell it to me, I'd sell it. So
Right.
they kind of know.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like even
But I'm not in that market to do that. Like that, there's people that, especially now, because a lot of those watches are kind of getting closer to retail price, and then you add sales tax of like our 8% on top of it.
Right.
That's all the profit in that flip.
right.
So you see a lot of like, there's a couple guys this right in the building that I work across from that opened businesses up, and their entire business we're buying brand new Rolexes from Rolex, and they would have like an army of 20 guys that go put their names on the watches, and when they get the call, they come over and sell it to him, and they give him a profit, and they sell it, and then that was their entire business. And those guys are already out of the industry because of
For sure.
because now there's not that much room to even do that with.
How do they even do that? When I was like a normal guy going to most, I mean, dude, I I'm not gonna lie, I went in to each store probably 10 times and emailed the same
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah, you got to kind of like build like a rapport with that one sales guy.
I tried. They're just, one of them was just,
I've tried. It's too hard.
yeah,
I don't know how they honestly. I don't know how someone gets in. I think it's once you get the ball rolling,
right.
then it's easier.
Maybe
So
buying like like you said, like
you buy like a
woman's-
ladies' date just,
Right.
and then you buy like a Cellini at the time. So then you're like, all right, you're sinking money
right.
in the hope that you're gonna make money on like the back end of it. So then
Right.
you get into their good graces, and then like, oh, I got a sub, which is like the first. Some people even call it like candy, pretty much, but it's like it's the actual watches you can make some money on. So then you get like the sub, and then it doesn't pop up, and then a couple months later, like, hey, I'm in the market for a GMT,
Right.
and then you kind of work yourself up into the Daytona, and then you get into crazy like off catalog stuff, which could appreciate like 200 grand over a year, depending on
Right.
like, desirability. But the whole game to me is not really worth the effort. But
No, I know it's a crapshoot, and that's why I was like, I'm
especially if
one-
you're a collector, like if that's what your business is trying to be, obviously you're gonna be trying to hustle to
for
do it.
sure.
But if you want like a Pepsi or a Daytona, instead of waiting 5 years and doing all this bull crap, go pay extra for one, because the market value is still the market value.
I think the biggest thing for me when I was ready to buy a watch, I was like, all right, I'm ready to buy a watch. Who has this watch that I want to buy right now so
Yeah.
I can go and pick it up?
No one wants to
Right?
wait.
Yeah.
Because you're excited about it.
You'll get a text from me and I'm going to be like, hey, bro, how quickly can you get me this watch? That will be when I'm ready.
Yeah.
And it's going to be like, I want it the same day or I want it the next day. But I think for most people who are buying like really high end watches like that, like we're kind of like those now. Like, like give it to me now. I'm not going to sit on a fucking list
I
and
joke
wait
about
for
it all
you.
the time. It's like if someone comes in and they want to spend like $1,000, it's like, well, convince me that you're the guy that I should spend this $1,000 with. And then there's another guy. It's like, hey, I need this watch. It's 50 grand. Here's the money already. Like, so it's like the more expensive, the easier the transaction is.
Right.
It's the cheap stuff that's like people are like very close with their money, and then you have another guy that's like, I put 50 grand in your account. Find me this watch.
Right.
Money's already there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, exactly like what you were saying. It's the people that actually want it now, that have the money to spend it.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care about waiting 3 weeks to find the absolute best deal.
No.
It's like, I just want this watch now. Here's
Right.
the money. This is what it's worth. Get it for me.
I do feel
and that's
stupid.
what I want my customers to be. I mean, that's the easy stuff.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because like all of those new ones, I looked them. I have them up. I pulled them up.
There's some cool ones and there's some stupid ones.
So I looked at, yeah, dude, wait, are these them? No, these aren't them. I mean, this is the funny looking one, the checkered.
That's
ones.
not even the funniest one. Like
You guys see
that
this
one's so that's like they take the Tiffany, Blue OP, which was like honestly
Like
historically.
who's gonna buy that?
Oh, dude. Talk about the deep dive one I sent you.
Oh, the two-tone one you sent me yesterday. So I don't know if that was actually even ever in production, but that's the one they stuck to. I don't know if maybe probably fuck his name up. Don Walsh. He was like I don't know if that's even the right name. It could be completely wrong. But there's this old guy. And I'm pretty sure his name was like Don Walsh. Like 70s. He set the record for deepest dive, and he attached that Rolex to his like submarine on the outside. So like it was like a promotion thing. Same thing that James Cameron did.
Right.
Later on, he went down like the Marianas Trench, like whatever deep that is, 100,000 feet. No, it's not that deep. It's like 20,000 feet. Whatever.
I have no idea.
But yeah, they attach these things. It's a promotion. Rolex puts it on. I think Rolex probably even pays for majority of like the cost of this whole expedition. But yeah, Blaine sent me one the other day. It was a two-tone one, but the crystal was like 4 inches thick because at the time they had the technology of how to like really keep that thing without breaking. But it's not a wearable watch. Kind of like, I mean, they just came out with it wasn't this year, last year, a titanium 50 millimeter Sea Dweller. Like we were talking about earlier, like nobody wants to wear a 50 millimeter.
No,
it is titanium, so the weight of it's not going to be crazy, but it's just the size of it.
It cracks me up that they do like the stuff like the deep sea, for example. It's like who's actually deep diving down to the deep sea and wearing this watch?
Even the sub is like what 300 meters, so that puts you at like 1,000 feet. Nobody's diving that far.
No,
but also like waterproofing is a little bit. It makes it sound different than it is. So like they do pressure. So if you were to jump off of a cliff, the pressure of you entering the water is greater than if you're sitting in the water. So that's why they were saying like watches that are 3 ATM, which is like 30 feet, which you're like, I'm never going to go 30 feet. But those like you could barely wash your hands in those watches.
Right.
Because the pressure coming off like a water faucet creates more pressure. So it does make it sound like it goes deeper than it really is. But like subs are like the base model for like diving. But like how far, I've never been actual diving.
no.
Like skin diving, but like you go like 50 feet.
I'm going
feet,
in a
maybe?
pool.
Yeah.
I could normally I stand up when I can touch, so at least I
Yeah.
can like drink beers.
I
in
don't
there.
swim that good, so I just stand in the shallow end.
I'm sitting in a jacuzzi.
But yeah, on those like those weird. I'm actually surprised at Rolex because Rolex is like same like Patek. Patek is more, but they're very proud of the history they have. So
Right.
then to come out with like some gimmicky, I think they started it like last year, 2 years ago when they came out that Datejust with like the leaf dial.
Yeah, I don't understand that stuff.
That was like to me the first time they got a little bit gimmicky. I actually kind of like the leaf. It kind of looks like a marijuana leaf a little bit. It's not something I'd wear, but I could understand at least why someone would like it. But then now when you're adding like bubbles on the dial or like the president we were talking about with like the puzzle pieces, and then the date and the day are just emojis.
But there's also those colors that are like there's like this orange one.
That actually does have a little bit of history to Rolex though. So in the
Does
70s,
it?
Rolex came out with Stella dials
Okay.
that were like baby blue and peach.
Yeah, they had like this green one, which
Yeah.
has like those colors. And
So
then this
green
blue
has
one.
always been like their anniversary color, but like so like that's turquoise, so that's different.
Right.
Stone dials were another thing they just came out with this year.
Yeah.
Turquoise and like marble, but those are I feel like this year's releases were actually a homage to a lot of vintage models that people don't really even realize, because in the 70s, so like last year when they came out with the OP that was baby blue,
Right.
and they came out with the coral and the yellow. In the 70s they came out with these things for presidents. That's actually a cat's eye, I think it was.
I don't know. I don't know what they
I actually kind of like it.
You do?
Yeah, I mean it's different. I'm not gonna wear it, but I can understand where they're coming from because they're making all those dials are made of actual stones.
So you gotta like it to wear it. I mean, I gotta want to wear it to like it.
I'm not gonna buy it.
No,
but I
I
would
know.
wear it.
Yeah, but
You're gonna tell me that was in your closet. You're not
You're-
gonna throw it on every now and then, just get a little flashy.
But why would I even buy it if
I mean, if for someone, well, how much that's gonna go for?
dude, that's gonna go for like 50 or 60 grand.
Yeah, so the people that are gonna spend $60,000 on that watch aren't really.
I don't.
To me, I don't know.
I wouldn't spend 50. You guys want to see the color of this thing?
Yeah, but a guy that has $10 million.
It looks like a Charmander, man.
Yeah, I think it's a cat. I think it's cat's eye.
It's groovy.
I think it's made out of some certain stone. I know.
But dude, even with that dial, that dude is probably gonna be more than that, 75, 80,000 with that dial.
I don't think it's like off catalog, but it's gonna be expensive.
Yeah,
Yeah. So a guy that's making $10 million, say an athlete, $10 million a year,
he must
$60,000
really love it.
on watch. I mean, you got guys spending $500,000, $1 million on Jacob and Co's, which is not really even a watch in my opinion.
That
It's
$1 million one.
It's a jeweler putting a lot of flashy stuff on
Right.
a movement to me. And then there's a lot of companies that have like crazy tech in the movements that not anybody will buy, like because most people don't know about them. But like a lot of this stuff is still flash.
Right.
Even like those bust down watches that I sell, like I'm never gonna wear one of those things. It's kind of cool.
No.
Go to the club, you can throw it out, so
I
like
mean-
it's shining. But like
There was a few times where I was like asking for a tennis chain. So, but
you asked me, and I said I have one, and you didn't show up. So
I didn't show
Talking
up
about-
because
talking about
I
bailing.
don't know that I would ever. You guys think that I can rock a tennis necklace, a rose gold diamond tennis necklace?
matches the watch.
Pretty sure I said don't do it.
Yeah, Whitney was like, "Don't do it either." She's like, "I don't think you can rock that." She's like,
I
"When
think
would
you
you?
could.
When would you ever wear it?" I'm like, "You know what? I would probably wear it to dinner, like, but that's about it."
I'd wear it all the time.
No, you wouldn't.
Got a chain on right now.
There's no diamonds in it.
Doesn't need diamonds. If I could put diamonds in there, I would.
I'm pretty sure I tried on one of the Cubans that were there that was full on bust down, and I was like,
Yeah,
"This thing's
that's what you should
legit."
buy. Yeah. No, that's like there's a difference between like people want to show off, and then there's also like, which kind of like we're going back to like the stainless steel Nautilus that is like an $80,000 watch, but you never would think so.
Right.
The people that have that much money almost don't even want to show it off unless you're like in a certain demographic, I guess.
Right. I love watches because of the not the history of them, but because of like how I was growing up. So like my family when I was younger, like my dad, his brothers, like
Yeah.
my grandpa, they all had like Rolexes. They all had
Yeah.
presidential. So like to me, that was a symbol back in the day of like either you made it or like something.
So you're doing good.
Yeah,
You're
that
not-
you're doing
you're
good.
fine.
Right.
You got $10,000 on your wrist. You probably aren't trying to make it paycheck to paycheck.
For
You know,
sure.
So it's like almost like having a red door. Like I just learned about this the other day. A red door on a house means that the house is paid off.
What if you have no red? What if you have no front door?
You paint the carpet red. I just learned about this the other day. So there's a neighbor on our house, and his house had a regular door, and the other day he painted it red, and it doesn't match the house at all. And I was walking Earl, my dog, and I was like, you painted your door red? And he goes, yeah, I finally paid off the house. And I was like, I didn't know that was even a thing.
In Coronado?
Yeah.
Damn.
I guess red doors, like if you have a red front door, like a bright red front, it means your house is paid off.
It's in Scotland.
So if you take, okay, so most people are gonna bust down his watch, 41 millimeter Datejust, not the two tone, sometimes two tone. That's the majority of, that's the most bust down watch, I guess, most typical bust down watch, because it's gonna put you in the $25,000 price range after it's bust down. So as far as like value of the watch, it does increase in value having the diamonds on it, but the amount that you pay to have those diamonds put on the watch puts you in the loss. So if you see a diamond Datejust, it is worth more than a standard Datejust. But one thing it does is that you're drilling holes into a case that's supposed to be waterproof. So one, it ruins. Well, I actually have a client that did this. We made him a 41 millimeter bust down watch. Immediately went in the jacuzzi. Water gets all up in his case, and so doesn't dry it right. Didn't bring it to us immediately either. Whole movement gets rusted out. Ruin his watch. And we told you, like, we're drilling holes into a case to put diamonds in. It's not going to make the waterproof the way it should be.
Right.
So, but it's all image. I mean, there's people that want to show, because people that don't know watches, you see an all diamond watch, you think that thing's $100,000. Because if you don't know the value of them, so that's one thing. And it's mostly like,
If you're not into watches,
you're not
I
into
feel-
you're not
yeah.
into watches. You're not very like in tune with like just the jewelry industry as well, because that
Right.
can kind of give you an idea. Then you see a all diamond out watch, and you think it's crazy valuable. That
Mm-hmm.
guy must be like wealthy. When really, it would cost $5,000 more than this watch.
I was just gonna ask. So it costs like if I was to do a bust down on my watch, it would cost $5,000.
No, because it's expensive to set each stone.
Right.
And most of those like watches have like 2,000 stones on them, and a jeweler in the United States is going to charge you $2 to $4 a stone. So you're paying whatever it is, $4 to $8,000 just for the labor time to set the stones. So majority of these things are made in like India and Hong Kong. Like I have guys in both that make them and then they ship them to me. Nice thing about Hong Kong is there's no sales tax and there's also no import tax because there's some kind of whatever we got going with
Right.
some like trade clause with them. And then you have India, which does have like a 6% sales tax even when you're buying it from them. And then there's the import fee, which is a little bit more expensive to get it to you, but then their labor is a little even cheaper. When you're talking about $2 or $4 a stone,
Right.
you're talking about 25 cents a stone in India. So it's worth it. Even like the pieces that I make that are like big pendants with like thousands of stones on them. We have an ARCAD guy send it to a manufacturer in India, and they make it and they send it back to us. We could make it all in house, but it would just make the piece 4 times more expensive.
And then with those, do they use because we talked about that when I was looking at lab versus
Oh, for your engagement ring?
yeah, for the original ones. Do they do like the lab on those?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know what's even crazy? The Nautilus we were talking about, they'll take a Nautilus movement and the Nautilus dial out, and they'll recreate the case and the bracelet, and they do a very good job at it now. So you have a fake case and a fake bracelet with real diamonds in it and a real movement. And so it just makes it very, very difficult to really even put a price on something like that.
You were just talking about
A lot of the rappers that you see on TV, you think they have like a factory because Patek does factory set themselves,
right.
but you're not talking about the 40 grand for it. They're
No,
crazy expensive.
hundreds and
That's
hundreds
off catalog. Those
Right.
things are crazy expensive. So then what people do that are like SoundCloud rappers, I guess is SoundCloud even a thing anymore? But like
I don't know.
people that are trying to be like big will go and spend 20 to 30 grand on pretty much a fake Patek with a real movement, but in real gold and real diamonds. But all of that stuff is not made by Patek.
Interesting.
So it looks like they're $400,000 watch, but it costs them
30 or 40.
30 or 40. So it's still a lot of money to spend on a watch. I mean, don't get me wrong, but
Right.
it's not. So it's a lot of flash.
Interesting.
So
Yeah, no, we were talking about the fake watch stuff.
Yeah, fake Watchbuster on Instagram.
yeah, me and him. I used to know him. I never met him in person, but when I first started getting into like the jewelry industry and I started posting stuff like on my Instagram, had a lot of people like tag him on my stuff and be like fake watch. Like obviously this guy is like selling fake stuff. And every time he was like, no, that's legit. So then after a while, every time I post a watch, I would tag him on it. But like, just save people some time. Just like let him. So then me and him like kind of like built up a rapport just over the internet. And really cool guy. I think he ended up selling that tag to somebody else because he was actually really big into real estate. He's like one of those guys who would buy like 100-unit apartment building or something
cool.
like that. So he ended up focusing more like on his real estate thing. But yeah, no, it's kind of cool too because you have a lot of people out there. There's a lot of people out there that are wearing fake stuff.
Sure.
I tell you that all the time. People coming in and
Yeah.
they're not even trying to sell it. But I mean, when you know what you're looking at, you can spot it from across a room that's not correct.
Blaine sent me someone too of his like your buddy or whatever who wanted to take a picture. You wanted a picture of my watch to see if they can like match it for a few $100.
Yeah, it was a realtor that we will not name.
Yeah.
I actually sent it to Alex too, and the font was wrong.
Right. It's like little things that you can you
Yeah.
notice, like the clasp or something. Like
Yeah.
the
So
logo.
someone that knows what they're looking at, well, that's because when you're looking at a watch, you're not really trying to see what's right with the watch. You're trying to see what's wrong with the watch.
Right.
So they'll get the font wrong or the magnification under the cyclops wrong or just like the polishing of the hands is they don't take because it's they're not putting that much money into it. So the finishing is wrong or like the size of the bezel is wrong. But to anybody else that doesn't look at them every single day, it looks good.
I don't understand the point of that. Like, is it just like
It's like putting it's like a kit car. Someone buys like a Volkswagen frame and throws a Ferrari thing on it because they want people to be like, hey, that guy has it going on. Really,
yeah.
yeah.
But then you're
It's
like
probably good for like some people, like in some industries, to have one just because they want like someone to trust the fact that like this guy is.
Yeah, I could see in the real estate industry like a lot of people doing it. Like I could see people doing that. Just
I was
to,
gonna
like,
say that, but I mean, you guys are real estate, so I don't want to bring it up. But
No, but
I
I could
actually do have a lot of real estate like people that are like, hey, can you get me like this watch? But I don't want to like the platinum president. It's like $150,000. I guess
Right.
I don't know where it's at right now. I had to double check, but watches that are hard to get, so it gives them. They think it gives them like prestige, but the people that they're probably dealing with at that level have seen those before, and if you see it and you know it's fake, then you lose all credibility.
Right.
So to me, it's like, I mean, wear what you can afford.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would rather like if you like why wear something fake if you can't wear it at all? Like I think I would like have more of a rapport, like trust with someone like that.
Oh, for
than-
sure. Yeah, I'd
than,
rather
like-
trust somebody that is like, hey, all I can afford is a $3,000 Tudor,
Right.
and then a guy that's wearing a fake Richard Mille.
Or I wouldn't.
I have a
wouldn't-
jeweler downtown that wears a fake Richard Mille, and he tells people like how much it's worth to his clients. And like I'm sure it tricks his clients by like, oh, you guys like a $470,000 watch on. Like this guy must be freaking killing it.
That's crazy.
But to me, he's a freaking piece of shit because like you're wearing a $200 Richard Mille.
I don't get that in like the your industry. Like if you're in your industry, I think the respect everyone like you guys can see through that bullshit.
Yeah.
You know, so that to me would be a difficult thing, especially like if someone like I'm into watches, but like I wouldn't know a difference between a fake or a real when it came to like a Richard Mille or like a Patek or something. You
Yeah.
probably couldn't tell very much.
Well, so especially now, like super fakes, like it takes a jeweler a while. I mean, there's Rolexes that they're called like super clones,
Right.
And they accept real Rolex parts into them. So there's like, I mean, people get tricked all the time. So I mean,
Right.
they make very, very good fakes.
Well, because you have to use like the magnifications and like
Even then, like you have to take the back off, and then at this point now they're even like the real bridges that have all like the stamping on them. So then you have to go deeper than that, and you're looking at like so Rolex movements have this like circle polish. I don't even know the term of it, but there's like this circle polishing on like the base plate, and like, I guess like the fakes don't get that right, but like there's a lot of fakes. I mean, there's this one time I was downtown at a Hulk. You know what Hulk is, the green sub.
Yeah.
And it came into my office, and I was like, "Hey, it's fake. I don't want it." And it went across the street, and I guess that guy told me that, or told the person that bought it that Alex passed on it across the street. And he called me. And was like, "Hey, did a Hulk come in your office?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's fake. Don't buy it." And he goes, "I just bought it, and I got it confirmed by 2 other people. It's real. Like, you messed up." I was like, "I know for a fact that thing's fake. So you do what you want with it." And like 3-4 days later, he's like, "Hey, you were right. It was fake."
yeah.
So like there's that good of fakes where it's tricking multiple people.
But sometimes like with that stuff, you kind of just have to go with your gut. You know what I mean? Like
A lot of it's good. A lot of it's not even the watch. It's the person that brings it in.
for
too.
sure.
Yeah.
You could probably see through that a little bit, and you're like, this
Yeah.
person looks a little suspect.
Yeah.
You know, not acting right.
Well, then like the boxes are like fake, and then you're getting into small details of like why the box is
it
fake.
smells. I
The
heard
smell
it smells.
of it,
Yeah.
the pillow it sits in. A lot of time, like there's a seam on the back, and those aren't like super right, and there's fake cards, and like some of it's raised or the ink's not right. But there's like they put a lot of time, and I mean I think I read the other day like the fake Rolex industry itself is like $1 billion industry. So when you have that much money being spent on fake watches, you're gonna find people that will spend the extra mile to make these things as perfect as possible.
Damn.
Like if I wanted to make a fake Rolex, I feel like I could make one that nobody would know it was fake.
Right.
Because I know what stuff to.
Right.
But I mean, yeah,
Crazy, man.
no.
Well, thanks for coming on.